Hi everyone, this is Laura Hammock from the Marble Jar channel, and today I'm going to give a quick summary and my thoughts on a book published in 2015 by Sherry Turkle called Reclaiming Conversation: The Power of Talk in a Digital Age. So I'm a book lover and I'm always reading or listening to several books. I have an eyes are bigger than stomach relationship with books. My bedside table looks like this at all times. I listened to this book on audio and I also got this hard copy from the library. Since I almost exclusively listen to non-fiction books and memoirs, I sometimes find it difficult to follow the author's cognitive organization, so I try to have a hard copy to look at as well. So just to be clear, I'm not a book reviewer. I'm mostly interested in sharing a brief summary and thoughts. Some people don't have the time or inclination to read the entire almost 400-page book, but are interested in getting a summary. Others might be intrigued by the synopsis and seek out the book to learn a little more. Either way, the books that I choose to present have information that I think is interesting or relevant to parenting or living more deliberately, and I hope you'll agree. First, a little bit about the author. Sherry Turkle is trained as a sociologist and a licensed clinical psychologist. She's also a professor at MIT and has been studying our relationship with technology for 30 years. I read one of her books, her many books, Alone Together, several years ago. She's widely considered one of the preeminent voices, if not the leading expert, in the discussion of how we are affected by our near constant interaction with computers and electronic devices. When she was researching her book Alone Together, Dr. Turkle kept hearing people say, "I'd rather text than talk. I'd rather text than talk." So this book is an ethnographic study of what happens when people text rather than talk to each other. I had to look up the word ethnographic. It means the scientific study of human cultures with their habits, customs, and differences. So Dr. Turkle maintains that because of our over-reliance on communication through devices, texts, tweets, emails, snaps, news feeds, and Facebook statuses, we are moving away from true conversation and all of the positive things that come with that: empathy, vulnerability, deep thought, creativity, fulfillment. So I find the way that she structured this book very appealing. She used a quote from Henry David Thoreau as an organizational device. The quote is from Thoreau's book Walden, about his retreat from his busy life in the 1850s to live quietly and simply in a cabin at Walden Pond. Here's the quote: "I had 3 chairs in my house, 1 for solitude, 2 for friendship, 3 for society." So the way she structures her book is, she gives the case for conversation, where she gives a background on the current state of technology and conversation. Then she does 1 chair, which covers solitude and self-reflection. Then 2 chairs, which deals with family, friendship, and romance. Then 3 chairs, which cover education and work. And then she talks about the path forward, or what can we do. She also has a bit at the end called a 4th chair, ? Which is actually her case against our over-reliance on robots. Think Siri, Alexa, Google Home. So I'm going to go through these one at a time and just give a synopsis of what she covered. The case for conversation is first. In this introductory portion, the author sets up the premise of the book, which is, in relying on communication through technology, we are all diminished by lack of true conversation. My favorite synthesis of this is a question posed by actor and comedian Stephen Colbert. He asked Sherry Turkle in an interview, "Don't all these little tweets, these little sips of online connection add up to one big gulp of real conversation?" Spoiler alert, her answer is emphatically no. 1 chair. Turkle makes the point here that without cultivating an ability to be alone and to self-reflect, we cannot truly understand ourselves. And without that understanding, we do not have the capacity for relationship with others. Being able to think deeply gives us insight into ourselves. What is important to me? Who do I want to be? Can I forgive myself? Can I forgive others? And also into complex issues. I've always heard if you wanted to solve a problem, take a walk without your phone. But we don't really nurture time by ourselves anymore, do we? And when we are by ourselves, we fill up that time now by catching up on our texts or reading our social media or finding entertainment on YouTube or Netflix. When we are alone without our phones, like maybe we mistakenly walked out of the house without it or the battery died, we have big time disconnection anxiety. We ward off boredom at all costs, but there are costs, aren't there? Boredom, solitude, and mental space are required to build identity, empathy, and perspective. 2 chairs. This next section contains the meat of her argument, and it was the part that was the most interesting to me. What happens when we text rather than talk? In college-age kids, markers for empathy are down 40%. What does that mean in real terms? It means we are crueler, more dismissive, and less tolerant of each other. In families, parents are choosing to be on their phones rather than interact with their kids. They are choosing to handle conflicts over text and choosing to violate their own rules, like being on their phones at the dinner table, even when they know they shouldn't. Tell me you don't relate to at least some of that. I know I do. Kids are crowdsourcing their hard decisions on Instagram. They're evaluating their self-worth through the number of likes they get. They're avoiding real-time phone calls like the plague. They're allowing their phones to distract them from just about everything. And when they are talking with their friends, they're talking about what's happening on their phones. People who are trying to find love are finding love by swiping right on Tinder, by maintaining superficial branding and appearances, by carefully composing and determining the timing of flirty texts, and then wondering within relationships whether they could do better with the vast array of online choices. According to Dr. Turkle, it takes 7 minutes to determine where a conversation is going, but most people today are swiping left before they can even figure that out. 3 chairs. In this section, Dr. Turkle addresses school and work. Despite the fact that colleges now offer a blizzard of online learning options, we're missing things from live classrooms, real collaboration, mentorship, and deep attention. And in case you didn't already know, multitasking is a complete myth. Studies show that it makes us way less efficient. Having our devices in the classroom make us distracted, impatient, and think in a more shallow way. There are similar problems in the workplace. No one's paying attention on conference calls. No one's chatting at the office cooler anymore, and everyone feels the pressure to be on the corporate messaging system and be available online at all times. The result is not good for creativity or effectiveness. The path forward. It's depressing, isn't it? The good news is that these problems are relatively easy to remedy. In just 5 days at a summer camp with no devices, kids were better able to read emotions and had more markers for empathy. So, what would Dr. Turkle have us do? Here are some of her tips. Acknowledge how magnetic your phone is. Slow down, take quiet time to know yourself and to know your mind. Create some sacred spaces for conversation, like dinner time or the car, and adhere to those rules yourself. Focus on unitasking rather than multitasking. Give conversations at least 7 minutes. Talk to people you don't agree with. Stop thinking of relationships in transactional terms as entities to be managed. Lean into discomfort. Have the conversation even if you'd rather not. Don't avoid difficult conversations like ones that involve conflict or apologies, and avoid black and white thinking. And I'll end here on that note, the avoiding black and white thinking. Our always-on technology is here to stay. Dr. Turkle is not suggesting that we all rush to the nearest toilet, throw our phones in, and flush. She's only recommending that we recognize the limits of their utility, that we put them down deliberately, and that we get out there to smell the roses sometimes. And of course, keep talking to each other. Make eye contact, empathize, and give relationships time. Amen to all of that. Obviously, you'll get more texture, backup data, and anecdotes from the actual book, so you'll have to read it yourself. I'll put a link in the video description. Please provide your thoughts, experiences, and feedback in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.